Tom Kim, if he was in the Andes when that plane crashed with all those soccer players, he would be the first dude they were complaining about. Like, hey, the Korean guy's trying to eat living people. We're still alive, dude. He'd be the only guy who came out of that whole plane situation gaining weight.
He'd be the guy in the corner eating the chocolate bars when they're like, what are you doing? We're supposed to ration those.
I'm going to go back home. I'm going to finish a piece of chocolate that I wanted to finish.
Tom Kim, I know Korean BBQ is delicious, but leave some for the rest of us.
Leave the human meat alone.
I hear Tom Kim has the best Korean barbecue restaurant in LA. Can you help me in this endeavor?
I can help you, definitely.
So we're hoping to grab him because I don't know where he's eating.
In a time where dorky golf journalists continue to creep out women, and Tom Kim continued on his quest to eat the entire planet, two men, Big Boy Pants Golf and Digsies, sought to stop them both.
It's the Tuesday show, getting you to hump day, baby.
Folks, we got so many topics this week. We're going to start off with the whole idea of Phil Mickelson. Is it time for him to retire? There's this Mirror article that came out. It kind of got some of the facts wrong. It said that Phil had gotten a special exemption into the U.S. Open. Folks, he qualified in 2021 for the U.S. Open via the normal top 60 in the OWGR. Again, these golf journalists can't really get the facts right, or they mislead you. But there's still a key that Phil Mickelson intends to keep playing because he wants to win the U.S. Open. Digsies, what do you think?
Yeah, the golf media wants to, spew their narrative. So they're going to, special exemption. It's an exemption. There's nothing special about it. He won a major at 50 years old. Come on. Like maybe it's special because nobody's been able to do that. That's why you should call it special. But yeah, honestly, if Phil had a U.S. Open in the bank already, if he won one and he completed the career Grand Slam, I could see him taking a step back and just being a team captain and thinking about growing LIV and growing high flyers, and putting in another a captain in there, and he's being the president behind the scenes. But until that exemption runs out in 2026, I don't see Phil retiring, man. Like, he wants to complete that Grand Slam. I think he'll continue to play on LIV. He'll play the few tournaments moving up into the U.S. Open. And then maybe when the U.S. Open is over towards the end, the last 4 or 5 tournaments of the LIV season, maybe he'll bring a sub in, like maybe he'll grab one of those wild card players like Hudson Swafford or Laurie Cantor, or his buddy, Anthony Kim. Like, him and Anthony Kim were close. We saw that at the Ryder Cup in 2008, slapping high fives, this and that, that they were close. They played a lot of money matches together. So I could see that happening with Phil.
Well, as per Alan Shipnuck, who's not the most reliable source, Phil's contract ends in 2025. You also got a guy like Bubba Watson. He's not exactly killing it, though. This year, he's playing a little bit better. Already like a top 12 and he, top 20 something. So he didn't have the best season last year. You can almost pardon him for that because he was injured, coming off the injury. Now, how many of these guys, of these captains, should now just become non-playing captains, and thereby for 14 weeks, they're not playing, they're just coaching. And now you have to pick up starts on the Asian tour, because I've got to imagine they still want to play golf.
Yeah, and that's the shame about the Champions Tour. Like, the Champions Tour should I know it's ran by the PGA Tour, but they should let these, LIV guys that are over 50. Like, come on, Phil is one of the most iconic golfers of all time. Like, he deserves to be on the Champions Tour. He deserves to be praised and play with his peers that he played with for years and years. And we saw him kill it on the Champions Tour. They were getting ratings too. Like, the fact that he can't play on the Champions Tour sucks, because we've seen it with like Steve Stricker. Steve Stricker tears up the Champions Tour, gets in good form, and then goes out and performs in the majors. Like, these golfers over 50 are able to perform in the majors by honing their game and keeping their game sharp on the Champions Tour. And it's a shame that Phil can't do that. So I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe they play some Asian Tour events. Like, obviously playing competitive golf is the only way to keep sharp. You can't just go out in your, private country club and play 18 against your friends and try to stay sharp. It's not the same as being inside the ropes.
It's just interesting because, to me, the Champions Tour, for at least a few month period, was Phil popping over there in aviator glasses and just winning. He was just winning on that tour. Now you have guys who wouldn't necessarily win as much, probably Bernard Langer, Steve Stricker. If Phil, and even like, for example, Richard Bland was over there.
Yeah. And honestly, you can't take that away from the guys that are winning. They're beating the guys that are there. They're beating the guys that are showing up. I know we'll probably talk about that with Hideki in a few minutes, but yeah, honestly, it's the Champions Tour loss that they're not getting Phil, they're not getting Bland, they're not getting these guys. Even like I'm sure Westwood's coming up on 50. Poulter's going to come up on 50. Even what about Sergio? Sergio was a star forever, so they're definitely losing these big stars on the Champions Tour. But in regards to Phil, as long as he has his sight set on the U.S. Open, I don't think he's going to stop anytime soon.
What's interesting is that this Mirror article comes out and it's discussing should Phil retire, but no one wants to ask the question, is it time for Tiger to retire? Look at his recent performances. He's tons of withdrawals, miscuts. The guy, his game is not there anymore. He only played 22 holes at the Genesis Invitational. Didn't exactly boost the ratings, even though apparently Tiger Woods is a needle mover. Can you imagine the fact that they had to call 911 because this dude was dehydrated from the flu?
Insane. And he's had 9 starts in the last 5 years. And he has, I think this was his 4th withdrawal. So that's insane. Nobody's calling for him to retire because he's his cash cow. And this whole SSG PIF deal, Tiger was pushing for SSG. Tiger did not want PIF coming into the PGA Tour. And you have to think about the PGA Tour leadership. Like, you're putting all your faith behind the guy that's breaking down before our eyes. And like you said, is Tiger a needle mover? No, he's not, because he teed off on Thursday. The ratings were down 51% on Thursday from last year. Last year it was 900,000. This year it was under 450,000. Now, I don't see the big guys like no laying up and talking about that, but they'll be the first ones to come out and say, oh, Live on Sunday was the 21st rated sports program behind the Golf Central pregame. Why aren't you talking about PGA Tour's numbers going down? What's up with that?
I want to get behind this 911 call. Can you imagine calling in and telling the operator, yeah, I've got Tiger Woods here. He seems very thirsty, very, very thirsty. And the operator being like, well, are his lips turning color? And the person saying, no, they do seem very chapped though. I mean, literally, they couldn't just give this dude a Gatorade and had him rest up a little bit, because if you look at the timeline, the call's made around 2 p.m. and 3:43 p.m. Tiger leaves the clubhouse. So you can throw the IV in there, but you could also just drink a Gatorade and sit in a chair for 20 minutes, dude. To me, the whole 911 call is a metaphor for how the PGA Tour is dealing with Tiger. I mean, it's so overblown. It doesn't make sense. And they just keep doing it.
You know what I don't get? Like, why you got to make a big scene and do the ambulance? Like, is it Tiger's people saying like, oh, you know what? Let's call the ambulance to make it look like you're more sick than you really are. That way people don't start thinking like, oh, maybe it's the back spasms, like it's all an act with it. I'm starting to get annoyed because for years and years and years, his whole team was very secretive about his injuries, about the surgeries, the timelines coming back. Is he going to play this event? Is he not going to play this event? And you honestly can't believe what they're saying. Was it the flu? Was it back spasms? I take everything that Tiger's team announced about him with a grain of salt.
He's running palms down. His clothes are at least 2 sizes too small. And this guy, come on, who's going to tell this dude he's like the Korean male Amy Schumer? He's a little fatty.
He is. It was funny to see, and he wasn't moving too fast. He was moving like a turtle out there.
His clothes are on the overly tight side. He's a Nike guy. And then you got Jason Day, whose clothes are on the overly loose side.
Yeah. I mean, well, isn't that Malbon's new slogan? How does it go?
More fabric, more life.
What does that even mean?
And that's the thing is, when people start trying to do that whole word salad, baffle you with bullshit thing, they have a horrible team behind them. And that doesn't run through the branding, but through all levels of the company. Their finances are going to be off. Expect for Malbon to tank in the very near future. As if you also had noticed, Nike recently just had to lay off 1,500 employees. You can just see they're making these huge expenditures. They're banking on stars who aren't going to last. You're just throwing money around, and then it doesn't pan out, and now you got to get rid of employees.
Yeah, It's crazy. And honestly, Malbon, like every other time I open up TikTok or Instagram, mainly TikTok, I'm seeing a different commercial and a different ad for them. Like they just had the Crosby Classic. They got permission from Bing Crosby's family to come out with the Crosby collection. So they're spending a ton of money. And you got to wonder, like, if Jason Day doesn't win, or these other, I think Rose Shang on the LPGA tour, she's a part of Malbon. If these people don't win, like, are they going to make back this money?
The one person that Malbon looks good on, I'm going to say this for the record, is Charley Hull.
Yeah. Yeah, but she's attractive. That's why.
It could be a big key. In terms of goofy slogans, I got to read this one to you. And apparently Sunday Red is pulling its profile photo on X, but their slogan is, we're not for people who want to live a certain kind of lifestyle. We're for people who want to live a certain kind of life. We are Sunday Red. Again, we're just trying to baffle people with bullshit.
That's a mouthful. Like, slogans are supposed to be like, EA Sports, it's in the game, or Nike, just do it. Like what does that even mean? Like, it's too long, number one. And it's like you said, like, I feel like they really are marketing to the Asian market and the China market, because, like in US, slogans aren't that long.
Well, that's basically how Asian people think that non-Asian people talk in terms of these weird slogans. No one talks like that, dude. Go listen to half of my words. I basically rap, dude. I don't use normal English. Have you noticed how many collabs Malbon Golf has? It's, to me, when you collab with everyone, you've collabed with no one.
Yeah. They've collabed with Nike, Adidas, like I said, Crosby. I think they even collabed with some hunting. There was like some hunting and fishing gear. It's insane. Like, they have their toes dipped in every single water. And I don't know, maybe their CEO and president has deep pockets and a limited budget. Like, I know from looking at it, the guy Steve who runs it, he lives in Pebble Beach. He plays, like, he goes out and plays Pebble Beach like people go out and play a Muni or a country club. Like, that's like his home course, which is crazy. So obviously he has deep pockets. Who knows? It's a brand new company. It's only been around 2-3 years. We should see what happens.
Let's get back to the Genesis. We got Hideki winning. He wins early. This is almost the case for why you want a shotgun start, because now you got Patrick Cantlay on the 16th hole. With 3 more holes to go, that's another hour and a half of Cantlay just putzing about. But who's going to watch it? The tournament's over.
It was dead air. Everybody was turning it off. Any sponsors that had ads in that last hour got shafted because nobody watches. The second Zalatoris missed that putt on 16, the birdie putt, it was over. Nobody was catching Matsuyama. And I got to give credit where credit's due. Matsuyama went out there and he tore it up, man. 9 under, 62 on Sunday. It was a great round. And he saved the week for the PGA Tour, because with Tiger needing the ambulance, withdrawing, their poster boy Jordan Spieth getting DQ'd, Justin Thomas missing the cut, everybody was like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Hideki showed up on Sunday and he saved the PGA Tour's week.
What I think Matsuyama has to do to give himself a better shot at winning the Masters is just order in and out for everyone while he eats traditional Japanese cuisine, dude.
Yeah, wasn't Johnson Wagner sick as well?
I mean, it literally is in and out. Bump, bump. Hideki obviously beat a reduced size field. Only 70 dudes, top 50 and ties, and anyone within 10 strokes to lead got to make this cut. But some of the pros didn't even know there was a cut this year. It was ridiculous when you heard about it. So I don't know how informed or uninformed the PGA Tour guys are, but yeah, they had a cut. It was kind of more form than substance. But now you've got, to me, you have to have an asterisk, because the same amount of guys made the cut this year as the ones who got cut last year. Reduced field, give this dude like a semi-asterisk right there, because I don't know if Hideki beats a full field, especially considering the dude hasn't won since 2022.
Listen, that guy goes out and shoots a 9 under 62 on Sunday. He's beating a full field. Okay, I'm not giving him an asterisk. This is one thing I disagree with you about. I think Hideki put on a great performance, and he doesn't get the pick. It's not like he gets to say, oh, you guys stay home. He gets to play who shows up. It's like in the Super Bowl. If the Chiefs were playing the 49ers and Patrick Mahomes gets hurt and doesn't play the Super Bowl, and the 49ers beat their backup playing Gabbert, does that mean that the 49ers should get an asterisk next to their their name in the Super Bowl trophy? No. So he can't decide who gets to play.
What's interesting to me is the bigger picture here, where all these old records that Tiger Woods has, like the consecutive non-missed cuts, or made cuts and all this other stuff. Now that it can always be like watered down now, because it's hard to miss a cut in a signature event like this.
Yeah.
You got the odds are against you. Now you can rack up a lot of potential wins because you have essentially diluted fields.
Yep. And if you only play a majority of the signature events and then a few other tournaments in between, it is hard to miss a cut. But it's like, it happens in sports. We saw it in 1961 when Roger Maris and Mantle were going after Babe Ruth's record. Roger Maris hit 61 home runs in 162 games. Ruth did it in 154. They wanted to put an asterisk. They did put an asterisk, but I don't agree with the asterisk stuff. Like, if you win, you win. If you break the record, you break the record. It is what it is. Like, Wilt Chamberlain used to score 100 points a game, and he was playing against guys that were 5'10", a bunch of white guys, 5'10". Does that mean we should take away his scoring records?
You should be an asterisk right there that said most of these guys were 5'10" white guys.
I'm just being real,
Okay, well, let's be more real with this Mackenzie Hughes Canadian character. They interview him on course toward the end of, I guess, the third round. And then he promptly, does the whole new big narrative of it's not about the money for the PGA Tour, though they just got, this whole SSG offer. But it's weird because the double standard is for the live guys. They've always got to say it's about the money. So you got the one hand PGA Tour guys always say, it's not about the money for me, but we have to force the live guys to say it is about the money, or they're not being honest. What is going on here? What type of gaslighting, brainwashing, psyop is this?
I got two takes for this. Number one, if somebody came around and offered Mackenzie Hughes $100 million to go to live, he's taking the money. Let's be real. That's a lot of money. The reason why he's saying it's not about the money is because nobody's offering him the money. Now, if it's not about the money, then why is SSG handing out $930 million as a one-time stipend to all these top players? If it's not about the money, why are they handing out $930 million right now? Not even like saying like, all right, whoever's going to, in the next 5 years, the top 36 get X and the next 64 get Y. They're handing out $930 million right now to these players to keep them to be loyal and to keep them on the PGA Tour. So it's kind of hard for them to say it's not about the money right now when they're handing out those funds. Don't you agree?
To me, definitely. But the other issue here is the fact that you got guys have to coming out on record. Remember when Dustin Johnson and Bryson had to come out on record saying, hey, I pledge my allegiance to the PGA Tour. And of course, later they went to live. Now you got these random dudes out there like Mackenzie Hughes getting asked questions like this. Does this guy now get sponsors exemptions in the future? Does he suddenly show up on the PIP? I want to track who says what and what they later get. You got Mackenzie Hughes dropping the money bomb, but we've also got video now of the true Max Homa dropping the F-bomb.
Yeah, it was funny. He's just like a regular guy out there. And honestly, I feel like Max Homa has two sides of him. He's putting on the persona that the PGA Tour wants him to be, like the next big poster boy. But listen to Part of My Take when he's on Part of My Take with Big Cat and PFT. I feel like that's the true Max Homa. That's when he's himself and he could just speak the way, he feels.
So why is Max Homa the type of dude who acts one way with his buddies and then acts a total different way when the chicks are around? The kind of phony dude who's real smarmy, and you're like, hey dude, why are you talking like that? And he's just trying to impress others, but he's actually a real dude when he's around the guys. Which one is the real Max Homa?
Probably a little bit of both. It's probably about money and the PIP. He wants to be up there on the PIP. He wants to get money. Like, it's a business. At the end of the day, it's a business. Like, these guys can say whatever they want, but at the end of the day, they want to win tournaments. They want to stamp that. I feel like it's half legacy, half money for all these guys. Like, look at what happened this week with MLB baseball. You have the guy Anthony Rendon, who won a World Series with the Nationals in 2019. He came out today and he said, baseball is not that important to me. It's a job. My family and my faith is first. It's a job. I come here so I can make money and provide for my family. Like, that's real. Like, Harold Varner III said that when he went to live. I'm taking the money. It's generational wealth. That's real. Like, I enjoy hearing these people speak from their heart and tell it how it is. But someone like Homa, who's playing like two sides of the fence, like, people eventually see right through that.
Neiman, Rahm, past 2 winners of the Genesis go to Live. Is
Yep.
Hideki now on Live watch? I mean, he's got the Masters, so he's got the the lifetime or till he's 65 or so exemption of the Masters. Is he the next guy who goes, because he crosses all the boxes?
He
Or
checks all the boxes. Yep. I think that Hideki might get, I know it might be crazy me saying this, but I think he'd make more than Rahm because Hideki is the number one star in the Asian market, and that's an untapped market, especially for Live right now. Like you have the South African team, you have the English team, you have the Australian team. If you bring in Hideki and have an Asian team or a Japanese team, that would, think about all the merch that would be sold in Japan if that happens. And Hideki has been a guy that has been rumored to go to Live for a while. Like we've heard 2 years ago that Shrixon was going to buy a team on Live, and Hideki was going to be the captain of that team, and Shrixon was going to give him $500 million. So I could very well see Hideki moving over. It's just a matter of when.
Right now we have Kevin Na, Danny Lee, and tiny Japanese dude who made it through the Live qualifier on
Kozuma, yeah,
on Live.
mm-hmm.
Does Hideki want to get his own Japanese team in there, or does he get those guys?
Yeah. Kevin Na's an American, like he could play for Team USA. He's, born in the United States. Danny Lee is New Zealand, or Australian, and Kazuma is the really only true guy from Asia there, right?
He's Japanese, but
Japanese,
I don't know. I think they do some weird pairings on Live sometimes. You don't even know what's going on. The final issue related to Genesis Invitational is the crazy fact of the outrage by the PGA Tour side about Jordan Spieth signing a incorrect scorecard, and now suddenly it's a BS rule. They should change it, but no one mentions the fact that this has been around forever. You had that one dude, Roberto Di Vincenzo, actually lose out and getting in a Masters playoff because he signed the wrong scorecard. That seems a much more monumental thing than this Tiger Woods and Friends Kitty Classic.
Yeah, and that was in the 60s, so this goes back a long time. And he didn't score for a lower score. He scored for a higher score. So because he scored for the higher score, that was now his score, and he missed out on the playoff, So, like, he wasn't cheating. Like, the guy was, like obviously trying to do the right thing, and he just made a mistake. Now, I see both sides of it. Like, I feel like it is a little – I don't know. Like, I feel like there needs to be another process for this. Like, maybe there needs to be someone in there looking it over before they submit it. Like, I understand, like, it is your responsibility. You should be able to add up 18 numbers, but mistakes do happen. Things fall through the cracks, especially when you have 150 guys doing the same thing every single day of the 4 days of the tournament. So I don't know, like, we all know their scores. That's true, but they all should still have to submit a scorecard that they sign and take responsibility for themselves. But should there be like a form that prints out that shows them what they got in every hole so they could double check it before they submit it? I don't know what the answer is.
My thing is, there was some Corn Ferry Tour dude recently who did try to cheat actively. Like, his playing partners had to be like, hey, he didn't get a 6 on the last, only got a 7. Because that cheating on the last hole got him through the cut. So you got that separate issue. So there is still integrity issues out there. And if you're going to pick out that rule as a dumb USGA rule, well, there's like 50 of them in there. Remember when Cam Smith dropped his ball? It was on the hazard line, and because he didn't drop it again, there's so many dumb rules in golf that
there is.
If you want to focus on that one, let's focus on 50 of them.
Yeah, and they tried to make some changes 2 years ago. Instead of dropping from shoulder, you could drop from the knee, and this, that, and the other. They made a bunch of changes, but they do need to make more sweeping changes, and I think they will.
Now, we've got Tiger Woods not moving the needle. So, obviously, you got the PGA Tour. Now they're trying to reach out and come up with some new ideas. And I guess the big one for them is to beat Live to the punch in terms of getting a potential golf YouTuber in the field. They got the Myrtle Beach Classic, and you got a bunch of random dudes. I think you only have 3 dudes who can actually probably scratch golfers. I don't believe the other ones are. You got Turk Pettit. You got George Bryan. You got a very few. So to me, it's
Rappaport scratch.
So you got a few guys. But my point is, in reality, it's like a 5-man tournament to get a spot into the PGA Tour event.
Yeah, it's crazy. But you know what? That they're looking at different ways to move the needle. They know that they're in a slump right now. They know that Live is getting more recognition around the world, and they're trying to do something different. Like they're thinking outside the box. What can we do to bring more viewers into it? And if they go on YouTube and they see these videos are getting hundreds of thousands of views and they're beating their own videos, they're like, how can we get a piece of that? So they're trying it out.
They've fallen so far away from the tradition and legacy point at this point. Like, I'm expecting the PGA Tour any minute, music, shorts.
Yeah, they can't talk about legacy anymore because things are changing. Even the fact that like the whole fact that they are paying people money out of nowhere, like the 930 million, like for years now, they said all these people on Live are money hungry. Like, they just turned around and did the same thing. And the people from Live weren't getting paid money for nothing. They were getting paid money to show up to these tournaments. What are the PGA Tour players getting paid for? They're just getting paid money for being on the PGA Tour.
Digsies, with all the factors going on right now, with Tiger not moving the needle, ratings dropping, this desperate attempt with the YouTube community, is the PGA Tour just in a minor slump where you don't have the big stars winning anymore? Or is this the new, horrible, pathetic reality?
I think it's a slump that's turning into the new reality. And it's nice to see golf.com, a legacy media company that's probably been stroking the PGA Tour for decades, finally come out and say something like this and piss people off, because it's going to piss people off at the PGA Tour. Before Riviera, yesterday's Sunday's tournament was a good tournament and had a good ending to it. I'll give the PGA Tour that. Before Riviera, the only other tournament with like 3 to 4 stars in the top 5 on Sunday was the Century, and that's the Tournament of Champions. So I would hope in a Tournament of Champions you'd have top guys in there. Every tournament in between the other 5 tournaments this year have been horrible. And look at the leaderboard. Like, the 2 leaderboards on Live this year has been a lot better than those 5 tournaments between Riviera and the Tournament of Champions. So it's a slump. And I feel like this is going to be the new norm, and they need their boys to come up and get them out of this slump. But, Justin Thomas is missing cuts. Jordan Spieth's getting disqualified. Tiger Woods can't stay healthy. Who's going to be their guy?
If I'm the legacy media guys right now, I don't want to watch this thing. I'm going to ask someone on Fiverr to sum it up for me, and then maybe have ChatGPT, as Sports Illustrated had, write the articles, because it's hard to watch. It's like stomaching a bad In-N-Out burger.
Yeah, it is. And honestly, I used to watch Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday without question all the time, every single tournament. Now, if I watch, I'll watch the back 9 on Sunday. Live, I'm watching all 3 events. It's short, quick, 4 hours. You're watching constant golf shots. You got some good commentary. But PGA Tour, I'll look at the leaderboard Sunday morning. If there's some guys I like in contention, I'll turn it on for the last 2-3 hours. That's about it.
When Greg Norman tweets, we comment. Greg Norman put out a tweet just calling out the OWGR and pointing it in relation to actually all the rankings at this point, right? When you look at the rankings, you got like Sports Illustrated has Xander Schauffele as number 2 in the world. Data Golf has Wyndham Clark as number 2. Whatever result you want, you can get by just moving the variables around. So they're all over the place. Is it time, as is my opinion, to dump the rankings and hashtag no rankings matter?
But then if you don't do the rankings, who gets into the Masters and big events? Like, if you win tournaments, you get in? Is that how it's going to work?
Sure. And also, I just want to know for the record that people forget this. The PGA Championship doesn't use the OWGR for its events. Instead, they have a Club Pro tournament, and you have 20 Club Pros get into the event, and 95% of them miss the cut every year.
Yeah. Honestly, I think there needs to be one ranking system that takes Live, PGA Tour, DP World Tour, Asian Tour all together. But like you said, looking at these rankings, I was looking at that list. Like, they're all over the place. Like, one list has Wyndham Clark number 2, another list has them like 19th. Like, how is there such a big discrepancy? Like, most of them have Scotty Scheffler 1, Rory's in the top 5, Rahm's in the top 5. So like, they get the top pretty well. But the rest of the rankings, it's like young Ann said, he's top 30 in everything except for the official World Golf rankings, and that screwed him.
There is a money-making solution that I believe I've come up with. It's genius, and I want to share it with you, Diggsy.
All right.
just more qualifying events, televise them. Then you can throw the YouTubers in those as well. So get the YouTubers in these qualifying events. You do well, and now you can get into a PGA Tour event. You don't have to just limit it to YouTubers. Have the YouTubers get into the qualifying events with other people and let the best men or man prevail.
That's a good idea. Yeah. And on a Monday or a Tuesday, put that on TV, do or die. The top 10 get in, or the top 5, 6 get in. That will do ratings.
Instead of full swing, go before the full swing, follow random dudes trying to qualify for events and get right at the ground roots level. Then you can also follow the YouTubers like Micah shooting 79 when he gets in these events. But don't have the event with just YouTubers. Have it with YouTubers with other people who are actually good at golf. Make it televised. There's a way for everyone to win, to cross the roads of YouTuber golf with guys who are actually good, qualifying events. That's meritocracy. Get into the real events. Let's go.
I'm feeling it.